Yeah, so happy to be here with you all today to talk about how you can leverage technical videos to advance your career. As Anna mentioned, my name is April Dunnam, and I'm the Power Platform Advocacy Lead at Microsoft. I've been in this role for a couple of months now, and I love karaoke. Just a little personal note about me. Yeah, I do have a Twitter, which I'm really active on. So if you'd like to reach out to me on Twitter, my handle is just my first and last name at April Dunnam. So definitely, if there's any questions we don't get to today, please reach out and ask me there on Twitter. So one of the things that I wanted to cover today is I really wanted to start off by talking through my journey and just how I got where I am today and how I feel that technical videos and starting a YouTube channel really helped me with my career. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think it can help you with your careers and how to get started and some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. And of course, we'll have plenty of time for questions as they come up. So kind of talking about my journey here, I began my IT career, it was a roundabout way just discovering that I even wanted to have a career in IT. I bounced back and forth between changing majors from education to political science, finally landing on IT, just realizing I already had a passion for computers and I just didn't know where my path would be. And I happened to have an internship where I learned about programming and realized that that's really good fit. I really loved getting hands-on and being able to make applications. And that's really where I started investing my time and began my career. Kind of started that at the worst time possible, probably way back in 2012 when it was like the market has crashed, 2010, that time frame. So I had to start with just a data entry job. I couldn't get an IT job right away, so it was a little bit discouraging. But I worked my way up, and in my internship, I had acquired some skills in a product called Microsoft SharePoint, which is a collaboration tool that Microsoft offers. And the company that I had the data entry job in happened to use that quite heavily. And I started eavesdropping on my colleagues, realizing that some of them were having trouble with SharePoint, and I felt like I had the skills to help, and I would offer my help. And eventually, the IT team took notice, and I ended up getting a promotion. I became their primary developer on top of their SharePoint ecosystem, and then it really kind of grew from there. I would say, being thrown into a job like that, I've never had any kind of coding job, so I was kind of on the job learning about the ins and outs of programming on this new platform. And I just kind of felt a little bit overwhelmed. So one of the things, the key turning points I think on my journey was I started a blog. So I didn't start off with videos right away. I started off with a simple WordPress blog, and I used it honestly, selfishly, I would say, as a way for me to keep track of all the things I was learning. So if I ran into, an issue here, I would write a quick blog about it so that I could reference that myself later on, thinking that also, if I'm facing this, surely I'm not the only one out there facing this issue, and maybe it could help a few people. That blog really took off, and some of my colleagues started to notice. And some of my colleagues were involved in some local user groups for Microsoft technology, and they invited me to start attending these groups. And eventually, I got the nerve to actually speak and do a presentation on something that I was working on in SharePoint at the time. It took a lot of courage, I have to say. I have been painfully shy since I was a child, so not something that just really comes natural to me to get in front of people and do a formal presentation like that. But once I did it and I really put myself out there, I found out that it was something that I really loved. I loved, talking with people and just being able to explain a concept that I learned, because not only did it help me be able to understand the topic better, but I just really enjoyed helping people. It goes back to probably my background where I really thought at one point I wanted to be in the education space. I really love being able to merge my love for technology, but also my passion for helping people and training. So that's what really was a catalyst to all of this. Once I started speaking at some of these local groups, I realized that, wow, I wonder if I could reach more people. So, I mean, I can reach people locally in my community, and that's great. But some of the stuff that I'm doing, even though I was still blogging, it's like I feel like once I got so comfortable with speaking that it would be so much easier if I just made a quick video about how to do this rather than having to go through the step by step in a blog, because I'm not the best writer, and that's not something that necessarily brings me joy, but I do like talking through and explaining things. So I thought, well, I personally have used YouTube heavily, watching people, that in the community that I know that were starting YouTube channels and helping me learn stuff that way. And that's just the way that I really personally love to learn. So I thought, why don't I try just try it out. I'll create a simple video on something that I had just figured out, SharePoint related. Like my first video was about how to filter a column, really kind of simple, but it was a little bit advanced. No one was doing it at the time. So I thought, I'll make a quick video about this in a corresponding blog post, and I'll put it out there and I'll see what happens. And I was very surprised when that video got a lot of attention and it really took off. And I have to say, I kind of was bitten by the YouTube bug at that point and really enjoyed the process of being a content creator on YouTube. And I think that one event there, like starting the channel and investing in it, really helped me broaden my horizons and get me to where I am today. So eventually, when my channel started to take off and more eyes seeing the content I was producing, I was awarded with Microsoft's Most Valuable Professional Award, which they give to people that are really making a big impact in the community. And it was only a year after receiving that Most Valuable Professional Award, 2 years ago, almost today exactly, that I was actually recruited by Microsoft to join. And within just a year's time, I was promoted to lead the advocacy team for the Power Platform, which is the low-code products that Microsoft offers, which I was making a lot of videos on YouTube about. So it was, when I step back and think about my journey, it's really kind of crazy how fast it all transpired. I started my YouTube channel in late 2018, early 2019. I was awarded the MVP in early 2019, and I joined Microsoft in December 2019. So it was really that quick that, starting this channel, and within, we're talking years time, and then another year that I was joined and had the MVP and recruited. So I can say from my personal experience that this YouTube channel and content creation really helped advance my careers to levels that I could never have imagined before. Just showing you some of the stuff that I did with my YouTube. There's so many people doing YouTube, and one of the first tips I wanted to say is don't put yourself in the trap of comparing yourself to others. I did face this. That was something that intimidated me, and where I thought I shouldn't even start this because there's people that already have such well-established channels. Like, why would anyone want to hear from me? But I learned to be happy with the small things, and knowing the people I reach and the comments that you get of people saying how much you've helped them makes it so much worth it. So, I only have 21,000 subscribers, but to me, that's a lot. And I stopped the comparison trap and learned to enjoy my victories and only compare myself to myself. So just a personal tip there. But I mean, when I think about it, I've reached 1.5 million people have viewed my content on YouTube, and that's no small amount when you put it into perspective. And I'm very proud of that. And I've had over 150 videos, just so some of the stuff that you can see that I did here. So I've talked about my personal journey, but how can technical videos really help your career? Well, for one, it really helps you unlock opportunities, because one of the key things that by putting yourself out there and creating technical videos, you're positioning yourself as a thought leader. And that really helps build your personal brand, because oftentimes a lot of things, with getting a job, with promotions, if you have a really strong personal brand and people know you in the community and in the larger community as a thought leader, I mean, your reputation at that point speaks for itself. You don't have to really do a lot of proving of yourself, because your publicly available content speaks for it. I can't tell you how many times that I've had people just reach out and say, like, hey, how much that my content helped them with their career. They were maybe, doing a total different IT career. My content helped them learn the Power Platform, and they became IT professionals and advanced their careers that way. And it's that feedback that you'll get and your bosses will get from people saying, oh my gosh, so-and-so works for you. I follow their YouTube channel, right? That stuff happens. And it unlocks so many opportunities. Some metrics that I wanted to show, just so you could get a good idea for the audience that you could potentially reach here by starting a channel or creating technical videos. 53% of people reported that they watch 2 or more instructional videos a week. So the need for these technical instructional videos is there. That is up 152% compared to in 2013, so less than 10 years ago. So this is a medium that's only going to keep really getting bigger, and your audience is there already. And 4 times as many people prefer to watch a video about a product rather than reading about it when making a purchasing decision. So when you're trying to decide, blog versus video, the general consensus here is the preference these days is really leaning more towards the video side of things. Because most people.
One moment, everyone. We're going to figure out the technical issue. Do you want me to remove your screen and put it back on to see if that will help? Oh. Hi, everybody. I hope that you're enjoying the talk so far. We're going to take a small moment and try to help April reconnect. But while we're doing that, I'm seeing some great questions. So if you have any favorite tech YouTubers, put them in the comments and start sharing them with each other.
So sorry, we had a power surge here, and everything.
You know what? That happens. People are starting to share some of their tech YouTube favorites, like Tech with Nana, Mayuko.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
we're keeping it going.
Awesome. Good. Glad you kept the chat going. So sorry about that minor difficulty, but we'll get right back on track here. Hopefully no more crazy power surges happening.
Well, I'm here.
Cool.
That's what I'm here for. Okay, let's try again.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm glad to hear. Love that you're sharing some of your favorite YouTubers out there. I have a few personal favorites as well. Layla, she's knows the Excel lady, as I call her. She has 1 million subscribers and has excellent Microsoft Excel videos. But as I was saying, most people learn better with visual instruction as well. So 2 out of 3 employees actually completed tasks better when instructions were provided visually, and they were able to absorb the information 7% faster. So just really something to consider, that this is a big preference for and how people learn. Another aspect when we're talking about video creation is online courses. The online course sites like Udemy and LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare and all that, they're growing to tens of millions of students and learners every day. So that's another big audience that you can get. And videos plus blog, I mentioned how I started off with the blog and then I got into videos. Really, if you can combine the two, that is really a perfect couple, because the most successful blog posts they see actually also include a video element. So if you're blogging today, consider including a video element to that. And of course, YouTube alone, the learning and educational content are viewed over 1 billion times a day on YouTube. So amazing numbers that we see. All right, so hopefully I've convinced you that this is something that you can leverage to really advance your career, increase your personal brand, and position yourself as a thought leader. So how do we actually get started? Well, one of the key things is you need to understand the types of technical videos that you can create, because you want to choose really ideally a primary one of these that you want to focus on. And of course, you can mix and match different ones of these, which I do myself, and I'll talk through. But figure out the one that you want to start with, because you want to start small and expand from there. So we have 5 main types. We have tutorial videos, micro videos, training, presentation, and screencast. And I'm going to talk through each one of these. Now, by far on YouTube, the most common type of technical video you'll see are the classic tutorials. These are your classic technical videos. They provide step-by-step instructions. They're typically around 5 to 10, maybe 15, up into the 20 at most minutes long. These do require extensive prep and professional touch, right? So some of, like I mentioned, Layla, she was one of my favorite YouTubers for technical stuff. She has 1 million subscribers. So she just did one on calculating the year to date in Excel, and highlighted a new function. So it's only 8 minutes long, really to the point, like here's what I'm gonna show you how to do, and here are the steps to make it happen. Example of one of mine that I did is, one thing to make better looking Power Apps is about in that 12-minute mark. And that's my primarily focus is on these tutorial type videos, step-by-step how to. But the other one that is really interesting these days is micro videos, also known as TikTok style videos. So these are focused on a single narrow topic. They're going to be short. They're going to be under that minute mark so that you can post them on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or your Instagram stories. And they're going to be good. They're really good for short attention spans. So one of the ways I use them is I have this series called Learn Power FX, which is like our formula language. So I'll take one like formula or function that we have, and I'll break down what it is and explain it in 60 seconds. So now people can digest these guides and how to learn formulas in easy 60-second increments. And I can use that all across the different social media platforms. Layla is another one that's doing this really well. 2 quick tips for Excel in just 60 seconds. This is a very big emerging media for technical videos, and you'll see a lot of people actually starting to use this for technical videos. So something that you can mix into your normal tutorials or whatever you decide to go with. The other one is training videos. So how this differs from the tutorials is they're really longer form and they're designed to improve an employee's workspace skills. So this goes into the online courses, like I mentioned, the LinkedIn Learnings, the Udemys, the Udacities. Those are training videos. They're typically part of a larger training course itself, like this Power Platform Fundamentals course on LinkedIn Learning. So, think of any of those training sites that you use. Those are the typical training videos, a part of a broader course. We also have presentation videos. So how we're all talking today in this conference, we could turn all of these into presentation videos. So it's recording your typical slide deck presentation. This can be audio and slides, or you can incorporate your video element into that as well. And these are usually much longer than tutorials. So I have a playlist on my YouTube, for example, of all of my presentation style videos. So if I spoke at an event and they offer the recording, I'll put that in a playlist on my YouTube. And you can see that these are typically in the hour, 45-minute to an hour plus in length sessions, and just typical presentation style. And then the last one that I wanted to mention is screencast videos. So this is your live streaming option. So all the big media platforms have live streaming capabilities. So there's YouTube Live, and then another big one is Twitch that you probably used for this. You probably could be watching this on today. So this is really good for that informal, ad hoc, like just in time teaching technical instruction. So a lot of technical YouTubers use this approach as well. I have used this for like a Q&A type thing. I think that's a really well suited for that as well, where you want to just get people on, have them ask questions, and you use it as an informal way to ask them. So again, you might use a combination of all of these, but choose one of them that you feel comfortable with and that you want to start off with, and focus on that at first is my big tip, and then see how you can interject some of these other type of videos into your channel. The other big thing is to know your audience. So before you even consider making your first video and going down this path, identify the why and who are you doing this for. So what do these people do? What's their education background and what are their interests? Because that's really going to help you hone in and focus the content that you're creating. So yeah, I asked myself this, like for me and my channel, my audience is going to be a little bit more broad, right? It's going to be students, it's going to be IT professionals, even developers that want to do their jobs faster. And I'm going to show them tips and tricks to do that with low-code tools. So that's how I defined my audience. It really helps to define how I create my content. Now, the other big one here, and this is what helps me out a lot, is to seek out a mentor. So we do this in our general careers already, right? When we talk about how important mentorship is. But it's really good when you're wanting to start a YouTube channel as well and start creating technical videos. I did this. I reached out to a few of the YouTubers that I knew that were creating technical content, and I just simply asked, hey, can you give me some advice? Are you willing to mentor me on how to really get started on this? Because more often than not, these people have been down the same road. They learned a lot, and they're happy to share their experience and help out. Another way that they might help out that you might consider asking is, if you're just getting into this, can we do cross collaboration videos? So a lot of these fellow YouTubers are very happy to say bring you on their channel and you do a video together on a particular technical topic or whatever you want to do. So that's another thing where a mentor can really help. And now I think I've already seen this question in the chat. Now, obviously, the next thing, and I didn't bring this first on purpose because even though equipment is important, it shouldn't be your primary focus because more often than not, I've seen so many people wanting to start a YouTube, but they just don't even start because they get in their head that they have to have all of this expensive, fancy equipment to even get started. And that couldn't be further from the truth. If you look at my channel or really any of your YouTubers' channels that you watch, you'll notice that their first video is night and day difference than their most recent video. So we all start somewhere with whatever equipment that we can afford and get by with, and we build from there. But the basics that you're going to need is, I would say, by far the most important thing when we're talking about videos is clear audio. If people can't understand you, if you have a lot of background noise, then that's going to really deter them from watching your video. So if you want to focus on any one thing, focus on getting clear audio first. Then if you want to not just do like a voiceover type thing, so when I started my channel, I was just doing screen share and voiceover. I was not comfortable yet with, kind of showing my face on camera. It took me a while to get to that comfort level and really put myself out there. So I just started with the audio. So I focused there first about making sure that I had a good quality mic. So one of the ones I use for my channel that is still quality mic, but surprisingly affordable, is this Blue Yeti. So it's a USB microphone, condenser mic, very good audio quality, and so reasonably affordable as well. And you can always upgrade to, DSLR mics and all of that. The other important thing if you do want to share your video, though, is good lighting and a decent camera. Now, oftentimes people might think, oh, my video quality doesn't look good. I need to get like some crazy expensive camera. Whereas really, you don't need a crazy expensive camera. You just don't have quality lighting. So investing in some kind of maybe a ring light or some kind of lighting in front of your camera there, behind your camera, that can really make it go a long way, where you can take like maybe a relatively inexpensive webcam and make it look pretty decent with just lighting alone. And then finally, you need tools for editing. So unless you're doing just the live stream approach, I guess that's the big benefit of that, right? Is you don't have to worry about editing so much. But if you're doing the pre-recorded tutorials, you will need some kind of editor. I personally use Camtasia. I'm a pretty big fan of that, but there's so many editors out there, even some free ones that you can take advantage of. So that's your basic tools. But again, don't worry too much about it. Upgrade as you go. Maybe just use what you have. And as you start building your channel and just seeing if this is even something you want to continue investing in, then you can always upgrade along the way. All right, and now finally, just moving on, a few tips and tricks. First is be authentic. I feel like when I was starting mine, I was probably trying to copy some of my favorite YouTubers a little too much because I thought, that's what I should do. These people were successful. I should copy their formula. But I think people see through that. They want to see your authentic self and get your personality. So really let your personality shine through in your videos and don't try to copy your fellow YouTubers. The other big important thing here is to be consistent. You really want to, ideally from the start, decide how often you want to publish your videos and stick to maybe a standard date and time. So you want to be consistent in your schedule for releasing videos so that the people watching, your audience, will know what to expect and when. But you also want to be consistent in what you're offering, your content itself. You don't want to stray too far from your niche. So that's why I said earlier, define your audience and what you really want to talk about. So for example, you probably don't want to have a YouTube channel that maybe mixes highly in-depth technical how-tos with something random like music videos. Like maybe you have a hobby in music, like myself. I write some music and I perform and all that, but I don't mix the two in my channels. I have a separate channel for my music stuff because it's going to be two distinct audiences, and that's why. So keep that in mind. I'm talking about videos here, but I mentioned earlier the combination of a blog and video is really powerful. So you might consider making a corresponding blog post for your videos. And it doesn't have to be the really in-depth step-by-step, but maybe just a high-level overview, because that's really going to, A, help you reach a broader audience that might prefer learning through reading. And then also it helps with SEO. The more places that your video is referenced, the better. So if it's embedded in a blog post, you're going to get more eyes on your video. And then some on the more technical side, as far as once you start, how do we optimize our videos? SEO, you hear me say that a lot, is a big part of that. You want to find your keywords. So if I'm making a video about Power Apps, I might look and see what are the top trending topics about Power Apps, and that'll help me identify maybe what I should tag the video as. The other one that a lot of times people kind of don't consider is a description. That is key for getting your video recommended by YouTube, is having a very detailed description and repeating those keywords from your title and your keywords in your description itself. So you want to have kind of take advantage of all the characters that we can have in that description. Repeat your keywords naturally. You can't do that artificially because the algorithm will catch on to that. And then also leverage links. Put links to, hey, if you like this video, check out this one in your description. And along those lines, we have something called end screen. So when you're watching a video on YouTube, you might have seen the screen pop up with like, hey, watch this video next. That's a really good way to make people stay on your channel, basically. So, oh, I like this video that I just watched. Now easily click on this next one and just keep my learning going. And then really finally, the last big one that I wanted to touch on is perfection is the enemy here. I got caught in this trap so much. I felt like, if I had to put the video out there, it needed to be perfect. I just said now. I was literally going to cut out each of my ums that I said in my videos, that painstaking level of detail, before I would release it. And it took forever, and it was really discouraging. So you need to focus on finding the one thing to improve with each new video. That's the approach that I ultimately ended up taking. So I would just release a video. I would try not to harp on all of the little different details and the nitpickiness, and I would watch it back after I released it, and I would find, okay, so this video I said too much, or this video my lighting was off. And I would pick one of those and address it in my next video and keep doing that video after video until ultimately you get to a point where you're pretty much streamlined here in your content creation process, and the next video is going to be so much easier. So don't let the perfection monster get you there. Some of the things that I just quickly wanted to point out that I was talking about. So here I'm in YouTube Studio for my video. So the end screens are right here. So that's how I said you can increase engagement. So for me, I just have kind of a standard picture that I show. And then I'll reference a playlist and a video, because I think that really helps increase engagement there. And those are just clickable links that run at the end of my video. The other thing that I didn't mention, but is very important, is subtitles. We want to make sure that the content we create is accessible to everyone. Now, YouTube is pretty good about creating these subtitles for you. So it should auto-generate the subtitles so you don't have to do anything else. Sometimes it's not perfect. You might want to look through and make sure that it's all good, but it does a pretty good job. But the key to getting these subtitles to work that I did want to point out is down here in the recording section. Let's see, here we go, video language. So it can only produce the captions for you if you fill out your video language in title and description language. So you want to make sure to set that, because that's what it uses behind the scenes to generate your captions. And just a few other things I'll point out. Tagging is really important. So you want to make sure that we have up to 500 characters of tags that we can use to help optimize and make our videos get a better chance of being seen. and playlist. Lots of people want to just be able to go to a list and learn everything about like, power apps or the fundamentals or whatever your topic is. So make sure that you're leveraging those to your advantage. And you'll notice my description, pretty lengthy. One other thing I wanted to point out that a lot of people like is a table of contents. So that is when you look at a video, you have the different markers, the timestamps. So you can go to a specific section of it and know what's ahead. You'll notice I'm using the practice of linking to other videos in the description as well. So just a few things. And as you get started with this, there's some tools of the trade. Like I'm using a tool called vidIQ or TubeBuddy that add on some of these extras, like kind of telling you your SEO score and all that. Not required by any means to get started, but just things that as you invest in it that you might want to consider. Okay, I want to make sure we had enough time for questions. So with that, I want to thank you. There's my contact information, but we have any questions here in the chat that we want to look at?
Yes, we have some great questions. I also turned on my ring light after you said that. You're so right. This was something that came up a few times, but I'm going to highlight Brittany's specific question. But a few people were talking about, like, how do you know when it's time to show yourself, or if you're not ready to show yourself, is it still worth it? Kind of all of those. Any tips about dealing with nerves or shyness in that respect specifically?
Yeah, topic near and dear to my heart. Like I said, I am painfully shy person, so I struggle with this a lot. I think it took me, I'd have to go back and look for sure. I think it was almost a full year of doing this before I personally felt comfortable showing my face. And that's going to be different for everyone. I think it's really all about confidence is all it is. And the only thing I will say is I don't want to paint a negative light, but you're gonna have, I mean, there's people out on the internet, right, that might make comments. And that's what held me back too. I didn't want to get any trolls about my experience or my appearance, and that was one of the reasons why I was really hesitant. But I will say that in my personal experience, I have the good comments far outweigh the bad. There haven't been nearly as many, negative comments about my appearance than I expected, which is one of the things that was really holding me back. And YouTube's pretty good about blocking some of those and being able to report it as well. So I would just say don't put any pressure on yourself. If you're going to create a video and you just try turning on your camera and you look and you're like, nope, I just can't do this right now. You don't have to. Lots of people have videos where it's just their voice and they're talking through a subject. So I would say every once in a while though, if you start down the path of not showing your video, turn it on, try it, and just see like, okay, do I feel comfortable in this moment? And maybe just try one, like push yourself out like as you get a little bit more comfortable.
Awesome. And in connection to that, Ithaca was wondering if you started with a personal brand or did it kind of evolve as you started doing YouTube? Were you involved with like content creation in other ways before? I think you mentioned music a little bit. So how does that play in together?
Yeah, like I really didn't have much of a personal brand. I think that I did start off blogging, so I think that helped a little bit. I had a semi reputation for my blog, just people, finding that through searches for some technical stuff, but nothing near what I have for my YouTube channel, I would say. So that helped a little bit. And then was speaking at a few events, and that helped to build my personal brand. But the other thing that I neglected to mention was the power of social media as well. So I think if you already have some kind of social media presence on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever, and you're maybe just simply retweeting blog or articles about a topic you're passionate in, and just posting some thoughts there, that really helps build your personal brand. If you already have a solid kind of good base of followers and people on those social channels, that will in turn help your YouTube be even more successful. And I think they all pretty much just go together and they kind of all meshed and mixed to help me build my personal brand.
Great. Yes. And then we have a question from Monica here, and I chose this one as someone that has been an editor. How many hours does it take to produce a video? I'm guessing it's quite time consuming. So any tips for time management? Because there was another question also about if you run into any NDA or privacy issues if you're talking about stuff for work and stuff that you do for your business.
Yeah, it's a great
Separate.
question. So editing, it's like that's just like the necessary evil of video creation, right? I mean, I think again, it's something that gets easier as you get more familiar with the tools. When I was first starting out, it would take, I don't know, 4 hours probably just to edit a 10-minute video, just because I didn't really know what I was doing or how I wanted it to look, and probably the perfectionist thing that I was talking about too, playing into that. But as I got more familiar with the tools, I would say I can do a 10-minute video, for example, record it and produce it in an hour. So it just comes with experience. It gets faster. But yeah, you do have to plan for that when you're starting out. That it could be an all day thing, just a multi-day thing, planning what you want to say, recording it, and editing it. So it is time consuming, but I think the investment is worth it, not only from a personal brand, but I mean, there's a guy at Microsoft, Kevin Stratford. He actually quit his Microsoft job to do a full-time YouTube because he was making so much money on YouTube. So there's that whole aspect too. It's like, I mean, it can be a revenue source if you invest the time in it.
Great, thanks. Um, I had another one moment. Oh yeah, Amanda wanted to know is how do you go about figuring out the scope of the blog or finding out what people need?
So a lot of the SEO tools that I mentioned, just like whether it's a simple, Google search. So if I know I want to create a video about SharePoint, right? I might just Google SharePoint and I'll see what's recommended. So like, what are people asking for? There's other SEO tools that you can use as well. And that'll help me figure out where's the demand, what are people needing. The other thing I use is, we're all in different technical communities and we probably have different forums or Slack channels where people are asking for help. So I can kind of identify, okay, a lot of people, in this Slack channel are asking about this particular thing that I happen to know about. Maybe I should make a video on that. So that really helps me kind of get some ideas. And then for the scope, I do write out a general outline. I don't do full scripts personally of what I'm going to say, but I write out the highlights of, okay, I need to make sure to show this and that, and just always keep my audience in mind and make sure, does this topic fit with the audience that I defined?
Okay, I'm just going through some more questions. We talked about whether it was mandatory and NDAs. There was one question in here that someone answered, but we'd love to know your thoughts too, is that just in terms of your own privacy when doing videos, or if you're accidentally sharing like sensitive information on screen, any tools or steps that you use to get that.
Yeah, so well, there's one GitHub. I'll have to find the link for it, but there's a GitHub extension. So a lot of the stuff I show, for example, is on Azure, right? So and then we have subscription keys, all that stuff that we don't want to share. There's actually a browser extension someone developed that's open source on GitHub where it will blur out your subscription keys. So that's one I use quite a bit when I'm demoing Azure stuff, and I'll track down the link for that and get that posted. And then I try to, the other thing is with the power of editing. So a lot of this we're recording and then we're editing. We're not doing it live. So yeah, I make sure that I look through if there's any sensitive information like that. Like Camtasia, for example, has built-in capabilities to blur certain areas. So that will cause a little bit more editing time, but it is something that you have to be mindful of depending on what you're sharing.
Okay, we're catching up on time, so we're going to finish with Cindy Lee's question here, which is, are there any legal requirements when viewing software, online courses, or books, such as copyright infringements? Do you have to notify them? And I'm thinking about this one step further, is that, are you at the point of your career where people are sending you stuff to review? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so for copyright, let me just quickly address. You do have to be mindful of music that you use. So in your videos when you're editing them, so that's one thing that did hit me. I thought like a piece of music that I had was publicly, accessible, but I guess it was royalty, so you'll get hit with royalty claims there. And then as far as reviewing, yeah, you do have to have permission a lot of the times from the source, to review. I think it really depends, but I always feel more comfortable getting permission to review in some of those cases.
Thank you. Okay, any last words to our aspiring YouTubers in the chat?
Yeah, I would just say give it a try. Create your first video using the tools you already have and what you're comfortable with, whether it's showing your face or not. Don't let perfection or imposter syndrome or anything like that stop you, because I really think it can have a big impact on your career and your personal brand. And if you have any questions, reach out to me on Twitter, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much, April, and thank you for sharing your experience with everybody. We're going to take a really short 1-minute break, and we will be right back on stage with our next speaker. So thank you, April.
Thank you.